Peace and welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Today, the big story, the hate crime verdict and the death of Ahmaud Arbery. We're going to break it down, talk to our culture crew to get their insights, but we're going to talk about what this impact, the implications of this verdict mean on not just on the culture, but on legislation and a whole lot more. We'll get into the details. Also, let's talk about proof versus potential, women in the workplace. We'll talk about a new study about the gender promotion gap that is currently existing and how women can bridge the gap. Later, we'll check in and discuss Netflix and Dave Chappelle. He's been tapped to do 4 more specials, even in the midst of all of the controversy around the closer and the criticism that brought in. We'll discuss with our culture crew, what does this mean and why Dave Chappelle is not actually canceled. And we got our Black History quiz. I've got something real special for everybody, so we got to get into that. So stay riding with us. There's a whole lot coming up on tonight's edition of The Culture right here, only on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the show here on the Black Star Network. Tonight, we're going to have a very, I think, extensive conversation around the hate crime verdict and the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. Today, it came out, folks, that the 3 defendants, Travis and Gregory McMichael, and their neighbor, William Roddy Bryant, all serving life in prison for Ahmaud Arbery's case, murder, could each face an additional life sentence. They are all considered to be guilty of charge of hate being the motivating factor for this case. Now, a sentencing date has not been set as of yet. However, the jury found that each man guilty of 1 count of interference with rights and attempted kidnapping. The McMichaels were also convicted of using, carrying, and brandishing, and in Travis McMichael's case, firing a gun during a crime of violence. Now, this means that they are looking to possibly get another life sentence around this horrific murder, folks. And experts have said that the federal convictions are not just a symbolic victory, but they have even ensured that the defense will serve prison time even if their state convictions are overturned on appeal. Now, the 3 men were sentenced in January to life in prison after being convicted on the state murder charges, and the McMichaels will not have the possibility for parole. Now, let's talk a little bit about this case as it relates to the other case that they had dealt with, which is the conviction for them being responsible. This case was about proving that there was actually a hate crime. Hate crimes, if you look at the statistics, folks, hate crimes are rarely prosecuted. In Georgia in specific, where this case took place, just 2 people were convicted of federal hate crimes from 2005 to 2019. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. The state, and I can't emphasize this enough, folks. The state did not have its own hate crime legislation until after Ahmaud Arbery's death. Can you believe this? The state of Georgia, I gotta say this again, did not have its own hate crime legislation until after Ahmaud Arbery's death. Now, this jury deliberated for 4 hours yesterday before announcing the verdict. That was just 1 day before the 2nd anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery. Now, the 3 men, they were arrested 2 months after the shooting. This whole case has certainly caught a lot of attention just because of how it was handled. But the three men, they were arrested 2 months after the shooting on February the 23rd, 2020, when Brian's cell phone video of the incident became public, and that created a nationwide outrage of many that included this case, and along with other high-profile cases where people have said that this just wasn't a police killing. This wasn't a vigilante killing. This was a lynching. This was a lynching. And so this case and this killing fueled a nationwide, folks, nationwide movement against anti-Black racism. So what happened during the course of this whole situation? Well, during the 5 days, federal prosecutors argued that the McMichaels, father and son, and Roddy violated Ahmaud Arbery's rights when they willfully interfered with his right to enjoy a public road there in the Scintilla Shores neighborhood because of Arbery's race. And this case is the part about proving that his race was the main factor for Gregory, Travis, and Roddy to go after Ahmaud Arbery. This wasn't about, oh, they saw him running and they heard that there were some recent robberies in the area, and they saw this Black man running, and they were trying to protect their community. No, it was very simple. They saw a Black man running, and they didn't like this Black man simply based on the color of his skin. The color of his skin. And that prompted them to go after this brother and to take his life. They found within this case, folks, where racial slurs have been used throughout their communication around this situation and in other places. These were racist. These are racist. And if you don't think that they exist, they do. And they decided to play God and to essentially make it a sport, running after him, chasing after him, brandishing their weapon, and torturing this brother. Again, it took them 2 months. Well, the police officials, it took the police officials 2 months to make an arrest. Hate crimes. The hate crime that we're seeing is still happening in 2022. The defense attorneys, according to the reports, said that Ahmaud was fatally shot in self-defense and had acted suspiciously during prior trips to the Scintilla Shores neighborhood. And the defense attorneys, who called one witness during the trial, made no excuses for their client's racist language and behavior, but they maintained they did not kill Arbery because of his race. That's what they said. I don't understand how the defense had a case in the beginning, considering all of the other factors. The text messages and other forms of communication, the attitude and the nature of this killing. It's so difficult for us to even have this conversation, or for us to even think about the great pain that Ahmaud Arbery, the great fear that this man must have felt when he saw these three racist men coming after them with death in their eyes to take his life. I want to play for you what Attorney Ben Crump had to say, who stood alongside the mother of Ahmaud as they discussed this verdict. Check this out.
It is because of their conviction to get full justice, not partial justice, for their son Ahmaud Arbery. We get to celebrate this moment. On behalf of everybody who has been with them the whole journey, my great co-counsel Lee Merritt, who is in Texas in a historic campaign to become the first black attorney general of the state of Texas, and everybody on his legal team, on behalf of everybody on the Ben Crump legal team, especially Cliff Jones, who's been there, and certainly to all of those activists who have showed up every day, not only here in Brunswick, but around America. To the clergy, to Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend Jesse Jackson, all the local clergy, all the state of Georgia clergy who prayed for this moment. We rejoice and give God the glory for justice. We acknowledge the Transformative Justice Association, Daryl, Barbara, Lynn, all of them for showing up and being part of this campaign for justice. We would be remiss before you hear from Wanda and Marcus if we did not thank in a special way the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division and Assistant U.S. Attorney Kristen Clark for her great leadership, as well as her frontline attorneys, Attorney Tara Lyons, Attorney Bobby Bernstein, and U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland. But a special thanks to Kristen Clark, the first black woman to lead the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Justice. This was very important to her in fulfilling this historic role of saying liberty and justice for all.
That was Attorney Ben Crump standing with the mother of Ahmaud Arbery. And I have to keep it real with you folks. I can't stop thinking about what this brother had to go through in those final moments of his life. I can't. It's hard. Let me give you some more insight, then we're going to bring in our culture crew in a moment. But here's what the prosecutors had to do. They had to convict this on a hate crimes charge and prove to the jury without a shadow of doubt that the defendant targeted Ahmaud because he was black. So for 4 days, folks, they asked witnesses to recount the racist interactions with Greg and Travis McMichael. And at one point, the prosecutor spent a full morning of the trial going over racist and sometimes violent comments and content from the defendant's digital footprints, including text and videos. One of the prosecutors, by the name of Christopher Paris, asked in the government's closing arguments on Monday this question: if Ahmaud was another white person jogging, would this have happened in the way that it did? if Ahmaud hadn't been using public streets, would this have happened the way that it did? He argued that racial slurs and memes, while not illegal in themselves, could help inform jurors about the mindset of the defendants when they saw Arbery running through Chantilly shores on that day. And Paris said they acted on racial assumptions, racial resentment, and racial anger that had been building for years. He said, quote, they didn't need to talk about it. They knew what they were going to do. They grabbed their guns and went after him. The family of Ahmaud Arbery successfully, and I want to throw this out there, and then we're going to take a quick pause. The family successfully fought against the plea bargain, because there was a plea bargain that the defense had placed in this case, and that the prosecutors struck. They were going to allow them to plead guilty and get a 30-year sentence. The family said that that wasn't acceptable. The federal charges carry a maximum life sentence. This is what they were going for. Now, the defendants will have 14 days to file appeals, and a sentencing hearing will be set at a later date. I'm just giving you just the things, the big points of this case. So the prosecutors are shooting for a life sentence to add another life sentence to their already life sentence, because they don't want to cut corners on this case. And as I mentioned before, folks, and we're going to take a quick pause, the state of Georgia really doesn't have any hate crime legislation until after Ahmaud was killed 2 years ago in 2020. Can you believe that? We're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, I'm going to bring in my culture crew. We're going to be joined by Nira Muhammad, Lise Winnie, Iman Heath, and get their thoughts. Also, post your comments on our YouTube page and our Facebook page, and let's have the conversation. And let's continue to talk about why it's important for us to talk about race in this country in light of this verdict. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back. We've been talking about the verdict in the case of the hate crime committed against Ahmaud Arbery, the guilty verdict that has come down in the courts of Georgia that showed that Travis and Gregory McMichael and Roddy Bryant were all guilty of hate crime. Take a look at these killers right here, folks. All three of these men killed out of hatred for the black skin of Ahmaud Arbery, a federal hate crime. I want to bring in our culture crew, three dynamic women, Lise Winnie, Iman Heath, and my wife, Nira Muhammad. Lise is the host of a Millennials Anonymous podcast. Iman serves as an activist and entrepreneur, and Nira is a writer, an activist, advocate, educator, and host of Queen Talks with Nira podcast as well. Thank you, ladies, for being a part of the conversation today.
Thank you for having us.
I'm a little speechless, just because it's not as if I'm not happy about this situation, and I'm glad that a guilty verdict was rendered. But I have to say, Nira, that I can't help but to think of Ahmaud. I can't help but to think, I'm a runner. I go out running. I run around the neighborhood. I can only imagine just doing something as simple as running on a beautiful day that you end up dead. What's your take?
I'm like, I don't know what happened. Honestly, it's really sad. There were actually three things that we were charged today: interference with rights, a hate crime, and then attempted kidnapping. So that takes it even further with that attempted kidnapping. I was blown away by that, to be very honest. I followed Trayvon Martin's case like every single day. I watched it, and I was so heartbroken by the verdict that when it came to Ahmaud Arbery's case, I didn't watch the case because, we talked about this before with just being overloaded by so much information. I was overloaded. I have a son. As you just mentioned, you're a runner. So this case was very, very personal and very, very close to me. So to be honest, I'm grateful. I think this is the first time as you mentioned, this is the first time since, before 2005 that anyone, has been convicted of a hate crime, or the second time, I believe you said. So this is a big step in our legal justice system, in our rights for Black people. So again, I'm grateful. But again, like, it was mentioned, this is going to be an enduring trauma for Ahmaud Arbery's family, regardless to the outcome of this verdict and this trial. They're never going to get Ahmaud Arbery back. So while I am happy that in so many ways justice has been served, I still feel for the family, because no matter what, he's never coming back.
And you brought up Trayvon, and actually, it's interesting that you did bring up Trayvon, because actually on Friday we will be acknowledging the 10 years since Trayvon was killed by another white vigilante.
Wow.
On this Saturday, excuse me, on the 26th, he was killed 10 years ago. That was when Black Lives Matter was born.
Yeah, I remember our son was 3 months old and we went out marching for Trayvon Martin. That was Nigel's first march. He was 3 months old and we were in the streets marching for Trayvon.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're in a very interesting time that this happened at the same time as we're coming up on that commemoration or that acknowledgement. Iman, when you think about this case, Nira brought it up, the charges, kidnapping, that the hatred that was incited, as I kind of quoted the prosecutor Christopher Paris in this case. I mean, it was just simple, just old school, old fashioned Southern America hate.
I do my best not to speak from a place of rage, but that's where I'm at. The fact that we have to say, or that we mention how we're thankful and grateful that a justice system that is supposed to work finally did its job, it bothers me. It's to say I am glad and happy that the Department of Justice finally did their job for once. However, I don't want to have to be grateful that we finally got a verdict. Kidnapping, they were charged with kidnapping. I want to know, what was your intent? Kidnap them and then what? With this lynching is still happening in those southern states. Was that the intent? What was your idea to go beyond already killing them and shooting them? Get your guns for what? What was the reasoning behind it? It's like you said, you guys stated as far as the statistics. From 2005 2019, there's only been, 82% of federal prosecutors declined to prosecute a hate crime.
Wait a minute, hold on, Iman. Say that again.
Federal prosecutors declined to prosecute 82% of hate crime suspects investigated from 2005 until 2019. 82%. 82. Well over half, more than over 3/4 of the cases. Why? The entire system, as I'll always say, has to be dismantled, and we have to start from the beginning. The system was never made to help us. Minorities, it was never made to help us. As we've stated before, the police force started as a way to monitor runaway slaves or those that were helping slaves. It was never meant for us to win. I don't care about which loophole it is, how many loopholes there are we can find. It was never meant to. So to be grateful and thankful that we finally got something that we should have been doing, we finally got justice. We're grateful. I hate everything about it. I'm grateful we got the verdict, but I try not to speak from a place of rage, and I'm mad as hell. I'm mad as hell. Per usual, I'm mad as hell.
I think, and Iman, I appreciate you for bringing up that statistic, and Lise, I think that's the hard part about this. 82% of those prosecutors may have felt like it is so hard to prove intent, like it's so hard to prove hate, because hatred is not something like somebody is a racist. Like as soon as you see them, you can't tell that. You have to look like this prosecuting team did. You have to look at the digital footprint, what they send, communication, online posts, all of those things. You have to really show that their mind is of a certain thinking. If they're sharing memes and videos and text messages with using language that shows Black people in a fearful or demoralizing state, then you know that type of evidence has to be right out there on the forefront. Otherwise, I'm sure that this prosecutor could have been part of the 82% if those things weren't present. If it was just simply they felt the hatred in their heart and in their minds enough to commit the act without actually posting or talking about doing something like this, it probably would have been a harder sell to that jury. What are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts on it, I hope you can hear me because I'm using my headphones, but my thoughts on this are a hate crime or proving a hate crime is very, very difficult. Just because a person is racist doesn't automatically, surprise, it does not automatically qualify a hate crime. You actually have to prove that those two things coincided at the same time. So not only is the person racist, they have to prove the intent that it happened at the very same moment in precise history in order for it to be considered a hate crime. And that's probably why so few people actually go for it. Should that be changed? Probably. So there probably should be a better pathway to that where more prosecutors would take that option, but it is extremely difficult. When you see in this case, the judgment here, I honestly think that this shows some level of progress, which I know that some people probably will disagree with me. I think that it does. I think the case with George Floyd actually impacted this. I think had we not gotten what the outcome of George Floyd and how everybody really stood up and rose up, I do not think we would have seen a conviction here. I think this would have been another case where it's like, oh, there were three guys protecting their neighborhood. So I do think we're going down a path of progress and things are changing. Do we have a ways to go? Yes, there are things that need to happen, but I think we are going down that route, and them being able to not only, because I know the family is what pushed for this, it wasn't necessarily the prosecutor, but we are going down a pathway of progress. And I think that this will set the precedent for future cases.
But I want to bring it back to this point. The fact that Ahmaud Arbery was killed, motivated by his killers, they were motivated by hate in era, but they also were motivated by the desire or feeling like it was their duty to rectify this situation of a black man simply running through their neighborhood. They felt like, you know what, I need to protect this neighborhood from this, that level of vigilantism. Is there any way that we need to, or how can we possibly address the vigilantism that we see right now from Ahmaud Arbery? We saw it, of course, with George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. I mean, people taking the law into their own hands and saying, I'm going to do A, B, and C. I'm going to take care of this problem on my own.
The only way to address it is to see convictions happen. We've talked about this even with dealing with the police. We've said before that until police are being convicted or even charged, I'm not charged, but we talked about fines going against the actual officers, something where they're actually being held accountable, we're not going to see change. Lisa's absolutely correct. This is a step in the right direction. Iman is correct too. It does suck that we have to sit up here and say, I'm happy that finally someone was convicted. It does fucking suck. But guess what? This is where we are. We got to take the wins when we get them, and we have to keep pushing. You daggone right. Breonna and George Floyd definitely impacted this case. But guess how many others there are? You know, there are so many countless other names that we've had on t-shirts, that we've chanted, that we've used as hashtags. There's so many names that we don't even know. But guess what? We got to keep pushing that envelope. We've talked about this before. The ballot boxes, making sure we know who to pick as judges. Because again, they don't go for these hate crimes because they're hard to prove. No one wants to waste time or tax dollars spending time trying to prove something that can't be proven. But again, we have these beautiful, beautiful phones that leave these carbon footprints everywhere we go. So I think now we're going to get to a place where we can start proving these cases a lot more because people talk a lot. Whether it's on social media, whether it's through their text messages, email, whatever have you. So those carbon footprints, they're going to be there. We just have to find them, and we got to push for that to be found.
One of the big things, and I would agree with you wholeheartedly, but ladies, one of the big things that one of the big decisions that were made to get us to this point was the fact of the family deciding to push forward with having a trial around this issue. My thinking around this is do we need to start pushing for trials when these type of cases arise? Do we need to start pushing for and saying, you know what, to the 82%, hey, no, you need to take this case. Even if the case doesn't garnered the type of conviction or verdict that we may want, it's still, as Reverend Al Sharpton said today, he said that this verdict was precedent setting. The guilty verdict of the 3 murderers of Ahmaud Arbery of hate crimes is a precedent setting verdict. Even in the Deep South, the feds will convict you of hate actions. I salute Ahmaud's parents for forcing the trial. And I'm wondering, okay, if this is precedent setting, then we must need to push for hate crimes to be happening. Hate crimes happening all over the place at this point. Like, we need to force the federal government to intervene and look at a lot of these cases, because I would think that some of these cases with police officers are also motivated by hate.
So Farajii, are you saying you think they should go back and look at old cases, or are you asking, should, from like this point forward, should we put more intent into looking at cases from a hate crime perspective? Because again, they've already been charged with federal charges. This is now new charges, which is amazing. They're going to be charged, like, these are, they'll get time on top of the life sentences that they're already serving. So I'm just curious as to which angle.
No, and I think that's the big question, because, moving forward, yes, definitely moving forward. But I'm thinking that there are still some cases out there that maybe from 2019, maybe there is a statute of limitation of some sort, but there are still some cases out there where the families are in a space of limbo, where they're in a space of not knowing which way to go or how to carry it. And they, for example, they could just be like, you know what, we're going to push this, and we're going to push it and ask the federal government to intervene and prosecute this case as a hate crime. I'm thinking that maybe that this could set a new tone to how these cases are handled. Iman, what's your take on that?
That space of limbo that people are in is probably that's the part where we either will succeed or we will fail. It's hard to say, okay, let's go for the jugular, let's go all the way. And after you've seen, especially with police officers, and granted, it can be different, through the loopholes that weren't created for us, to say, let's fight and then lose, or fight, dang, we should have took this, we could have got at least a piece of justice, rather than go to trial and not get anything. It's hard to say I have faith in the justice system when we've seen in numerous times for over 10 years, and I'm only accounting 10 because of social media and being able to see it now. It's been going on. We know racism against towards blacks has been going on, but it's discouraging after trial or after verdict after verdict after verdict that officers get off with just slap on the wrist, paid vacations for murdering, especially these kids in the middle of the street and not giving a care. It's very discouraging. It's hard. I could say, if I were to be in a family shooting that comes to either going for trial or not, I would be on the fence, honestly, because you can get to trial and the charges are way easier, more lenient than what they would have been if we didn't go to trial or let them take the plea deal. It's hard. That place.
And I get that. I get that, Lise. I get it. I feel like, yes, it is hard, but if this is going to be a turning point in the larger conversation about justice for Black people in this country, then you know what? We may have to just do just that. I mean, yes, it is hard to prove, but like Mark Morial from the National Urban League, he said it in his own, he said this, and I think this is accurate. He said, they quote, "They saw no value in a Black man's life. The case was made by their own words." The case was made by all he had to do was just pull it up. And the way jokers are operating right now, go on social media. Go on through their text messages, right? Because a person, they're not the brightest. They're not the bright. And I'm not saying they should hide. I'm glad that they got caught. I'm glad that they got a digital footprint.
Look, Trump got his own platform now, so it's gonna be a whole lot of stuff.
You made your own case now, buddy. You And see, Lise, this is the thing, and this is the part of the conversation about, and if we're talking about it on the tech side, we're seeing that a lot of people are expressing discontent for a variety of people, for a variety of reasons. I mean, social media has become like this digital gutter of people just throwing trash down into it, right?
I agree, but
nobody's really checking for it, right? Until a situation like this happens. Then you got to go back through the records But you know what I'm saying? But I mean, people making their own case with their own words.
I agree. I mean, I agree that people do make their own case on social media. However, we do either need to add to the qualifications, because what will happen is that everything will get thrown into the hate crime category. And if everything is a hate crime, nothing is a hate crime. I do think that we need to have
facts
change and include more into that so that it's not so hard to prosecute, because of course that was done by design. They want to make it more difficult to prove a hate crime because there's a lot of people that hold those views. I think another thing that people don't understand, the law is there in order to make things right. It's not necessarily to make you, unfortunately, the way that the law is set, it is across the board. So when you look at what a hate crime is, it is difficult in order to prosecute, because just because a person is racist doesn't mean that they committed a crime as a hate crime. And that is unfortunate that it has to be so overwhelming in order to prove it. If Gregory McMichael hadn't gone on a racist rant on social media, we wouldn't be seeing this. And to be totally honest with you, I do think it's the tone that we're in now. If we were not in the era that we're in post George Floyd, this would not be. It still would be quite difficult. So this is a high profile case. I do not think that if this case wasn't a high profile case, people would be talking about this and this would have turned out this way. So we can't sit here and say that we should throw everything in there, because everything doesn't fit in there. But at the same time, should we change the qualifications? Yes, but it should be made where people understand what that is and what falls into that. And it's going to be case by case. So no, I don't think we should just throw everything in that blanket.
And I know it's a hard, and I know that, and I'm just, what I'm thinking of, ladies, is just trying to figure out the best way that we can move forward, the best way that we can take the momentum from this moment, from this case, and how do we start to, to get justice for other victims. I'm thinking of the brother Kendrick Johnson. This is the brother that was found in a rolled up Mac in his high school. And Brother Roland has been talking about this case. He has talked to the parents of this case. They had a documentary about this case. And guess what happened at the end of the day? The law enforcement in that part of I think it was Georgia, but the law enforcement there said, "Oh, we didn't find that there was any wrongdoing." Kendrick Johnson essentially killed himself by walking into the top of a rolled mat to get his shoes, and he ended up suffocating himself.
And he ended up cutting himself as well?
Right, that's why his face was swollen. He was beaten and bruised.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you look at cases like that, they close the case trying to get it into a space of a hate crime being committed, or they got to find the people that are responsible.
Listen,
because the police department is covering it up. I'm just saying there are a number of cases like this, and y'all all know it, ladies. There are a number of cases like this that are present in this country that we don't know about right now, that could have happened last year, 2020, 2019, 2018, and that's not still getting any justice. Nira, what's your take?
I was honestly just sitting here thinking, and I was wondering to myself, if you've tried and tried and tried for so many years to get justice, would you ever stop? Would you ever feel like you needed to let your child's memory rest? Would you ever feel like you needed to rest? I have a son, so I look at everything from a different lens. I look at it from the lens of, if this had happened to my son, if this happened to Nigel. And to be honest, I truly don't know. I don't know if I would become an advocate for other moms and help with their cases. I know for me, and I put this in the chat, I don't like to lose. So for me personally, if I feel like I'm constantly going through this stuff and I keep losing, that is going to be more traumatic for me than one loss. If I got to keep reliving my son's death and keep losing and no one else is seeming to give me justice, could I keep going on? I don't know. Is it healthy for the mother to keep going on? For her own sanity, for maybe the other children that she may have. And so I'm always conflicted with cases like this, because I do have a son and I do understand that fear. But how long do you fight?
To even piggyback off of what Nira was saying, I don't have children, so I can't speak from a mom's point of view. But just the point of view of being a African American, it's like she said, to keep going. I've gotten to the point, I want to say probably 3 years ago. When these type of cases come, I don't want to dig into them and learn more details. I don't want to follow the verdict. I don't want to follow what he said or what she said or what the prosecutor's saying, what the judge is saying. It's mentally, it's draining. Emotionally, it's draining to keep saying the same thing and trying to figure out an effective way to make a change, not just get everyone emotional and have 1,000 marches and let's participate and get everybody emotions riled up. What's next? I'm tired of marching. I'm not beating my feet on the pavement for nothing no more. I'm tired of marching. What's the result? What is next? And to keep seeing over and over again the same results, it's tiring. Even from a person who doesn't, not from Mom's point of view, just being a part of the group of Blacks, it's tiring. I'm drained, and it hasn't hit me personally. I'm tired mentally. I
can understand that. I think that if we're talking about protesting, any type of verdict or decision, I think that marching has its place, right? For a lot of people, and it may not be any one of us here today, but for some people, marching is the origin of their awakened consciousness, right? That they go to a march, they hear the messages, they feel the energy, and they're like, wait a minute, whoa, something is really happening. For those of us who have been doing that work for years, marches feel like, okay, that was entry level, I'm on the next level. And so marches has its place, right?
It starts with the ball, but we got to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, and it does.
It does. But it makes me think about like the Joshua generation, like, Iman, Farajii, we've done that. We've been in the streets together like for years. So again, you got to pass the torch. Listen, I sat in so many forums and listened to Black people complain about Baltimore City schools. So what did I do? I decided to become a Baltimore City school teacher. At some point, you got to stop complaining and get on the other side of the fence. Okay, I was on the side of complaining. Now I'm going to get on the side that I can actually do something. I can actually make a change. So again, I feel you, Iman. Personally, I've gotten my marches in. Since, I marched last summer. Okay. I marched last summer and I said I wasn't going to. Girl, messed up a brand new pair of Chuck Taylors. But it's cool. I'm just not doing it anymore because
if we're going to march, can we plan?
Lise, go ahead.
If we gonna march, can we plan though?
Yeah.
It seems like we march and we don't plan. That does not make sense. You go back to, I hear it all the time, but Martin Luther King did it. But he planned this out.
He planned.
Oh, come on. Yeah, you can't put that out. No.
Planned.
Look. Each march, each gathering, whether you're talking about from the Civil Rights March, whether you're talking about the Million Man March or the Millions More March or the Justice Else March or the Women's March or any march, right? There is intention behind it, right? There is purpose and reasoning behind it. So we can't just, and I hate when people say that stuff doesn't matter. It does. For those who need it, they do. There's still a lot of people that are not activated in this consciousness for social justice. They're not activated in it. The march can do that. They can play that role. But I'm with you, Lise, that there needs to be a plan, whether it's a piece of legislation, whether it's some level of engagement,
some demands
need to be met. I mean, all types of things can come from marches, and I think that that's just one of the many strategies that can be used to employ to bring about some change. But go ahead, Lise. What else you got to say?
I think that marches bring awareness. That's what it does. So just like Nira said, what do you want? The biggest thing that I missed in all the marches that happened from 2020 up until now was, what do you want? I hear you, but what do you want? What does that look like? And that didn't happen. And I think that's why from 2020 up until now, we're still standing in the same spot. Yes. So those are the things that I'm like, we got to plan that. We have got to plan that.
Yeah, I feel like there was something that was wanted from the George Floyd, but the bill still hasn't been passed.
The bill never went through.
I'm gonna say, because with George Floyd, they were like pushing for stuff like heavy with George Floyd. Right. I mean, George Floyd sparked protests across the globe. That's never happened. Never. For a Black man to spark protests around the globe to the extent that George Floyd did, it's never happened. So George Floyd was like an awakening. He really showed the world what was happening in America. So I can't take that away from the George Floyd. I may not have been a part of those protests and those marches, but I put in my work, I put in my time, but it was definitely necessary for sure. For sure.
No, and I would agree with you. I think that, like that piece of legislation, the George Floyd Justice for Policing Act, something that I have been advocating publicly since this thing came to existence. It when you drop the ball, and we all know about it, ladies, that community organizing, one of the biggest qualities a community organizer has to have is they have to be consistent and persistent. If that level of persistence falls off when a piece of legislation just fails, you just like, oh man, this thing ain't gonna never happen. Then it's never gonna happen. I mean, when you think about the great strides that so many of our people from the civil rights era all the way up to this moment, the strides and the sacrifice that so many of our people did. When I'm thinking of the example, the Montgomery Bus Boycott, do you know how many days they walked?
They planned that for months.
For months. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about in Montgomery, Alabama, where it's hotter than Satan's kitchen. And they walking. And they made the choice. And I'm saying the collective choice to say, we're not going to take the bus. And it broke that system.
But you knew what they wanted. That's the piece. What do you
want? Let me just throw this out there.
Yeah.
Because y'all said for a few months. No. That boycott lasted from December 5th, 1955 to December 20th, 1956. That lasted over a year.
The preparation was for.
I'm just saying they did not get on a bus for over a year. From December 5th, 1955 to December 20th. We can't even boycott. We can't even boycott. Don't do me like that, Iman. I can't.
We cannot watch the Ravens play for a season or two to get some type of results, and it takes a collective effort and to be.
But it doesn't take all of us.
Say it again.
See, that's where we got. If we want to usher in change, it doesn't take all Black people in the state or in the city. It doesn't take all of us. It takes only a small concerted small number of Black folks or a small number of people to say enough is enough. They don't take all of us. I know in Montgomery every Black person took part in the Montgomery Bus Boycott.
Right.
We know that.
But it was a significant enough amount that it affected their pockets. So that's the thing. We as Black people, we talk about how we're poor. Yeah, we have over $1 trillion spending. So we can definitely make change just by holding back on the Jordans, holding back on the bundles. We have power. We just don't use it.
So we got like 30 seconds. Let me ask each one of you ladies this question. Now that we got this verdict, and my thing is we got to keep our foot on the gas and up the ass of those who think that they can get away with stuff. What would be the next step that you ladies would recommend? Lise, what would you say the next step, even with this guilty verdict?
I would say propose legislation and start running for these seats. Like the Democrats right now are in trouble. A lot of 30 House seats are coming up. Mm-hmm. Run. I think you should run. If you say that there's no one left, please run for office and start to propose legislation. Find out who your senator is and your congressman or woman in your area.
Let's go, Iman. What would you recommend for the next step of this movement?
I'm stuck. I'm stuck. My emotions are on 1,000. I want to speak from a logical place. I don't at this very moment at 3:59 on 22222.
Yep.
I don't. I'm not sure yet. All
right, Nira, what would you say right now?
I'm gonna have to piggyback off of Lise. We gotta run for those seats, but it takes a lot of money to run for office. So we're gonna have to put our Black dollars behind Black faces who also have our back. And I'm not even just gonna say Black faces because again, we can look at Baltimore as a perfect example. Just because we have Black leadership doesn't always
do that.
Great. I'm gonna have to do it. because all Black ain't Iman, all Black ain't Black though.
Absolutely.
I want people that really want to make a change. That's what I want. I don't care if you yellow. I don't care if you gay, straight. I don't care if you purple. I don't give a. You could be an avatar for all I care. Just let's get it done.
Yeah. Here's what I think and this is my humble opinion. I'm going back to that one crazy ass fact that we put out there that Georgia does not have that their hate crime law is just started 2020. I'm saying let's strengthen that. If you're in Georgia or if you're in any state, all states, 49 other states have some sort of hate crime legislation, folks. Oh. And if you in those 49 other states,
they were the only ones who didn't.
Not until 2020.
Insane, because this is like Georgia.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
You know what I do want to see, Farajii? I would like to see every single Black person that was lynched in Georgia. I would like to see all of their murders turned into hate crimes at this point. I would like to see that.
You can't. It's just too much. The government can't handle all that. I mean, I'm not even trying to be facetious. I'm not trying to be, put
it all in one document. I don't care.
I'm saying
that shit needs to be said. Every person was lynched in Georgia. That was a hate crime.
Look, the soil of Georgia is soaked by Black people's blood.
Absolutely.
You said 49 other states.
49 other states have had some sort of hate crime legislation.
Like we talking about the home of Dr. King?
Look, let me tell you, I'm not surprised. What? I'm not surprised. And I know I got to go to a quick break, but real quick, I'm saying that we got to keep our foot on the gas and up the ass of people to make sure that we can get some legislation and that the legislation is strong enough, is decisive enough to be able to bring this type of situation. I mean, they only had 2 hate crimes prosecuted between 2005 and 2019. You mean to tell me in Georgia, they only had 2 cases of hate crimes that were prosecuted for 14 years?
Georgia.
Everybody
all I'm gonna say is I'm happy that we got this verdict, but I know there are so many other cases like this, and I'm happy that you ladies are not just satisfied and comfortable with this one verdict. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about proof versus potential, how women are challenging the promotions gap in the workplace, in politics, and beyond. Stay with us. The Culture here on Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Folks, we just had a powerful conversation talking about the verdict in the hate crime killing of Ahmaud Arbery and the impact and implications of that horrific situation. We are happy that that verdict is guilty, but we know we have to stay focused in making sure that justice has already been that justice will be done. Sentencing date has not been determined just yet, but once the date is happening, we will continue to have conversations about this case and other cases like it, and more importantly, have conversations about why Georgia needs to have a state law, a strong state law against hate crime. So we'll follow up with you about that. We want to switch gears now as we look at another big issue, and that's women in the workplace, women in politics. We're finding that there's this age-old debate, folks, about proof versus potential. And this is a conversation that I think that we need to have, because we're finding, and based on some new research, that women are not just suffering when it comes to the wage and pay gap. They're also suffering due to not being promoted like men. According to emerging research, and I want you, Keen, if you can throw those statistics up there, they're finding that women's potential is judged differently to men, ranked so true for so many women. So a new study has come out, folks, that said that women are consistently judged as having less leadership potential than their male counterparts. I want to share with you these statistics very quickly about, would you give you a sense of what they look like. We could throw them up here. Look at this. The study shows that 14% women, 14% less likely to be promoted each year. Take a look at that. 14% less likely to be promoted, seen as having less leadership potential than men. Wow. There's another statistic that I want to share with you about women not asserting themselves as much as men, right? Because that's the other part about this, that they're finding that even in opportunities, when opportunities arise, that there are a high number of women who don't, quote unquote, assert themselves to be in positions of leadership. Look at this, 7.3% more likely to receive high performance ratings, and that's for women, but their potential ratings are 4.8% lower. So women do well when it comes to actually doing the job, proving that they can do the job. But when it comes down to making the decision to promote, then guess what happens? It doesn't happen. Men are often promoted on potential. Women have to work harder to prove themselves that they can do the job. I want to bring back my culture crew, my crew of women to share their thoughts around this issue. We have been joined by Lise Winnie, who is the host of a Millennials Anonymous podcast. We also are joined by Nira Muhammad, who is a writer and educator and host of Queen Talks with Nira podcast. And we're joined by Iman Heath, who is an entrepreneur and activist. Ladies, when you see these type of statistics, what's going through your mind? Iman, I'm going to start with you on this. You're an entrepreneur. So you must have either known that these statistics were happening and you said, "Bumping, I'm going to start my own business. I ain't going to deal with that. I ain't dealing with no politics. I'm the boss."
Hello?
Or what? What's your take?
So I would say, I just want to throw it out there. European culture threw us all the way off. Number one, I feel as though some people may feel like women to promote or lead, they're worried that we'll lead by emotion rather than logic. I don't like that because a lot of men, they're known to you have to be aggressive, and it's a cutthroat kind of thing. You got to be this rah type of person. Well, that's not necessary. It takes balance. We have men, I'll go ahead and say Donald Trump, his impulsiveness through his entire campaign, his impulsive statements, even statements that weren't true, that's emotion as well. Being impulsive, that's an emotion. And to think that we're less than but not equal to due to emotions or what our sex may bring, that's not okay. Back home, ancient Kemet, men and women were equal, but not we were equal, but we weren't the same. Women were held to a higher regard just as men. We led wars. Even I may be saying this wrong. The Dahomey tribe were a tribe full of women who were hunters who went to get the food, bring it back home, and cook. So I think it's more of the men are more logical, women are more emotional. Hillary Clinton might want to send a bomb over to Baghdad because they said they like our fingernail polish. Like, let's be real. Like cut it out. We have masculine men who take that whole masculine energy way too far, and you gotta take women out of the space of being emotional. We're not just these emotional creatures. We're smart. We lead better than some men.
We lead better than some men. I hear that. Least when you look at the numbers, and I want to make sure I say this, that this study was conducted by a woman named Professor Kelly Shue. She is the professor of finance for Yale Management School. This study was also co-authored by Alan Benson of the University of Minnesota and Danielle Lee of MIT. And so all of these professors and scholars took a look at this situation and said, hey, there is a very, very big problem. And it's interesting that in 2022, Lise, that we're still seeing this problem exist. I mean, that women, that y'all are still combating this type of challenge, even though y'all have proven yourselves time and time again that y'all can get the job done.
Look, I think that's just the society that we live in. And I was actually quite shocked at the way that this was written. And it was written by Katie Bishop, who is a woman, because it almost seemed, if you read the article Proof versus Potential, it almost sounds like she's saying that it's not that women are being discriminated against, it's that women aren't putting themselves up for jobs. And I don't think that that's it at all. I think that a lot of it has to deal with exactly what Iman said, that when men see a woman, she has to prove that she is competent before it is assumed. Whereas if a man walks in a room, it is assumed that he is competent until otherwise proven. So he can get mistake after mistake, which they said this in this article and with the studies, women get one shot. If you mess that one shot up, you mess it up for every woman who's coming after you. And it's unfortunate. I think all the women on the panel today are entrepreneurs, and having sat and talked to people who are in the C level or an executive, if you're a young woman, a young Black woman, they look at you differently. You are not taken as seriously. And it's unfortunate that as a woman, even though I have the same level of education, if not more, because Black women especially have the highest levels of education in this country.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So the fact that this is even a problem, we look back at our society as a whole. And why is it that if you have, I don't know if I can say it, if you have a penis, somehow it makes you more educated than me, you're more qualified than me? That is not okay. So I think that we do need to look at this country, at how we look at women. And I think even this culture now, this dominant, which Iman hit on, this dominant versus submissive, and you need a submissive woman, I think it starts to take you down that pathway where a lot of women don't want to put themselves out there because I don't want to deter a mate, which is unfortunate.
Absolutely. Nira, one of the big questions that is being posed, to add to what Lisa had brought up, is, do you feel like women are holding themselves back? And let me share with you this data, then you can certainly respond. But according to some data, it suggests that women tend to undersell their work, rating their performance as 33% lower than their equally performing male colleagues. Female managers are also more likely to lack self-belief and less likely to expect to reach director level by the end of their careers. Are women underselling themselves in these spaces in the workplace?
Yeah, absolutely. I gave you a prime example, man, of my sister, man. She went and her and a Black male started a job at the same exact time. My sister went in thinking that she could only ask for a certain amount. The Black man came in, and I believe he was making either 10 to 15,000 more a year. He was horrible at his job. She, in fact, was doing both of their jobs. She was then promoted and then asked to fire the black man.
But she was still making the same, but she was making less than him.
Not once she was promoted. She was promoted to making more than him. But when they first came in, I would say at least for the first 5 months or so, she was making between 10 to 15,000 less than he was. I think that is very true. The women, I think the men just lie. Let me just say that. I think that, and I'm talking about that score that he just now said where we rate our own performance. I think the women are rating themselves lower because one, either they're being
I just want you to let you know, this is my man face right here.
Listen, I'm not mad at men for this. We should probably start lying some more. Do I know how to do this? Nope. But I'm gonna say that I do. You know, you got to get your foot in the door sometimes. I've literally sat and listened to a podcast where white males said that you damn right I lie on a job application. Don't know how to do it. I'm gonna say that I do. I got the job. I watched something on YouTube. Now I know how to do that shit. We got to start doing that too. We as women have to start being more assertive. Again, we are afraid that sometimes when we're more assertive, we're going to get passed over for the job. Or if we don't ask for what we believe that we're worth, they may, you know, give it to someone else. Because again, my sister had more education than the young black male. She was a student at Hopkins at the time, getting her master's. She had been an English teacher for years, way more experience than he had. But because she was afraid that she wasn't going to get the job, she didn't ask for as much. So yes, we as women do have to start being more assertive. We do have to start knowing our worth because we're worth a whole lot. But again, it's because of the system that we're in. We're always operating from a place of, let me at least get my foot in the door. We're not only women, but we're also black. So that's 2 strikes against us. So maybe I'll just start saying I'm non-binary and then maybe that'll work.
Yeah,
right.
Hey, Nick,
I'm not binary. I'm not a woman.
Nara, though, do men lie, or did somebody told them that it was bigger or better than it was, and so then they start believing that is in fact what it is?
Bring it home, Lee.
Because we tend to do that too.
I'm gonna go with both.
We tend to do that.
I'm gonna go with both because I know
amazing.
I personally know I know situations where men have been like, nah, I lied. I ain't know that shit, but I'm gonna figure it out though. And I'm like, yo, you smart. You smart.
Well, I mean, it's going to show up. It may show up in your work performance though that you don't know. You don't know what you're doing.
But if you're smart, Farajii, you're gonna learn and you're gonna figure that shit out. Because that's what.
I mean, here's the thing, and I get what you're saying.
I'm not saying go be a surgeon, Farajii. We're not talking about go operate.
Well, I'm just saying, even as a director, if you're a manager, if you are trying to go for a director position of some sort. You know what I mean? Like, look, and I think this is the other part about it. One is that I always think it's funny that people are surprised about double standards, as if we've been living unless folks have been living under a rock. There's double standards for being black. There's double standards for being an immigrant. There's a double standard for being a woman. There's a double standard for being a man in some cases. I mean, there are double standards. They exist. Let's embrace that. Let's embrace that reality for one. But then two, you know, when you look at how people like the culture, like we've created this culture where women are made to feel less than. You know, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad once said that a nation can rise no higher than its woman, right? So when you devalue a woman and her potential, and not just her potential, but you devalue a woman and her experience and all of that she brings to the table, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to start to see that there becomes an imbalance in other things and other, parts of that system. And the system can't keep going on in a space. And we're seeing this across the board, whether you're in, the school system, whether you're in politics or healthcare, wherever, that across the board, you're seeing that these systems are falling apart because they don't have the input, the leadership of women. Lise, what's your take?
I think that more people do need to take and listen to women and what they're saying. Like, I don't know if you've seen this, but I was reading this comment that it said that men are even more scared of non-straight women. And she had a boss that asked her if she was gay because she had the strength to stand up for herself. And I think that's unfortunate that people keep putting us back in these situations where we have to continuously pretend that we're something that we're not. And we do need to evolve past where we are. And I think that we need to hold people accountable for things like this. And it's like time and time again, not only like, I know we're talking about getting ahead in the workplace, but we also have to bring in, and I know this doesn't necessarily go there, but sexual harassment. I've never met a woman who has ever been in any workplace situation that has not been sexually harassed. And you don't want to say anything because then it's like, oh, she's complaining, she's messing up the environment. It is unfortunate that this is where we are.
I did. I said something. I did. I spoke up for 7 of us women at a school, and guess what? He still works there. I don't.
And tell him who you spoke to though.
Oh,
you spoke to a woman.
Story. I spoke to a black woman. A black woman was the principal. I kindly wrote her an email while teaching my class. I sat my students down, gave them something to do, and she called me down to her office. She pissed me off so bad that it got to the point where I looked at my principal and I told her, you know what, as a rape victim and survivor, you and I are going to agree to disagree, and I'm going to walk out of here and I'm going to go back to my class before I lose my job. And that's what I had to do. And I wound up quitting because, you know, the culture didn't change. And I felt as though with me having a group that I started for young girls called Queens in Training High Society, I started a sorority for 4th and 5th grade girls to teach them to use their voice. How could I teach my girls to use their voice and not stay at a workplace that allowed 7 women to complain about one man and nothing happened? Only thing that happened was, well, he apologized. Get the fuck out of here. He apologized. And then he wasn't even a teacher. He was not even a Baltimore City staff. He was like into some foundation. So you're going to choose this man who can't even teach 4th grade math over qualified teachers? That's insane.
Make it make sense.
And I quit.
And I think men weaponize that too. They can make you feel uncomfortable in order to keep you in, quote unquote, in your place. And this is why we do need to look at things and do studies like this to find out if that is in fact true. Look at the Forbes 100 or the top. There's what, like 1, 2 leaders that are women and half the population are female. How is this possible? There's no way that you have all of these women that are not qualified in order to run the world. And when you look at all the self-made billionaires, this list will make you very upset. All of the self-made billionaire women are either married to someone or the daughter of someone. This is not okay. Like, we need to find a way to make sure that women are heard, and we have to get rid of the quote unquote, this is what women supposed to do. This is what women are supposed to be like, because this translates over to the workplace. And when you have men who are hearing this their entire life and your woman sits down, they don't take it seriously. And I've had that happen to me.
Yeah.
And that just made me think about the fact that we have to stick together. I am so tired. And I know for me personally, this is my thing. Y'all know I'm very outspoken. I got tired of being the voice for every fucking body else at the workplace. And then no one stood up for me in those meetings. They will wait until after the meeting to either text me, email me, or come by my classroom and pop their head in. Thank you so much, Mira. Thank you for standing up for us. Thank you for what you said. But it's like, but did you have my back when it mattered? There is power in numbers. But if I'm the only person that's standing up for everybody else, then I just come off like the angry black woman who is complaining versus the one who's actually taking all that shit that y'all keep complaining about in that staff room. Because I got tired of it. I get tired of hearing people complain, but never do anything to change their situation. At some point, I'm even like, either you shut up or you're going to do something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Deborah was saying how we have to at least put our foot down. I'll say from personal experience, being I've been in a management position since I started working. Being a store manager, going for a store manager position last year, I went in with a offer, what I wanted, lower than what I was given. My district manager was a male, short male that was in the military. You know, y'all know I'm tall. I feel like he had a complex. That's a whole nother story. Okay. So I went in saying, hey, I want this amount. He said, well, actually, that's pretty low. We start here. And it's like, dang, that was my original number, but I didn't want them to feel like I was asking for too much, or I was trying to let me dumb down my number. The number that I actually wanted. So I will say, speaking personally, and I did my job well. And just to say, he has called me since I quit to get my job back. That's another story as well.
Right.
But as women, if you out there, The first number you think of, stick to that number. Go up and talk down. Don't stay down here, because they'll come down to you and say, okay, yeah, that's great. Woo, woo, woo. No. Learn to negotiate, but stick with your number. The job you want will find you. I promise. Stick to your number.
A couple of things. Here's a couple of things. One is Grace checked in on our YouTube page and said women are always scrutinized more than men. Men don't fear or worry about being scrutinized unless you're a black man. Unless you're a black man, you got to worry and fear of being scrutinized. And I thought, again, that's part of the double standard. But check this out, ladies. This is not just about being in the workforce. There are also studies to show that when it comes to decision-making roles, like in politics, that women are still being undercut because they're finding that that the women's potential is so often looked over that it's more common for us to see comparatively young male candidates in the running, whereas female candidates tend to enter politics later in life. And professors and scholars are saying the reason for that is because women spend years building up experience, accomplishments, recognition before they consider themselves and are considered to be credible candidates. There was a study that was done, and I forgot who put this study out, but there was a study that was done that about the question of whether a woman can make a good president. And there was an overwhelming number of folks who said no. They rather have a black man. They rather have somebody else outside of a woman being president. And I'm thinking to myself, man, in 2022, as we go into the presidential, election in 24, is having a woman as a potential president, is that so far off that we will still say to ourselves, it can't happen. She shouldn't be there. We want somebody else.
Farajii. I'm sorry. England hasn't had a king in how long? How long has the queen? How long? I mean, she's the longest. She is the longest. She is the longest reigning monarch in the history of the world. No one has ever been in that position as long as the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, right now. So what do you mean women can't run the world? This woman that's a dynasty. And I'm not saying it's always a good one, because y'all know England has flaws. But it's hers though. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a woman though. Yeah. Look how many decades that she did not appoint her husband to be king. She could have. She didn't. She gave him a prince. She made him a prince.
The CBS News article I saw by Emily Tillett. She published this in April 2019. And I quote, she stated, "Some Americans still question whether women have the emotional fitness necessary to hold office."
Yep.
That was 2019. What stuck out to me was emotional fitness. What the hell does that mean? Like, what?
That's just
it's not for me. What you just said is American. It's these American views. It's an American white patriarchal society. That is history.
The vigilantes. It's the vigilantes, Nara. It's the vigilantes.
I don't know if it's just, I think it's just in general. I honestly don't know if it's just white men that feel that way. I honestly think in general in America that there's a lot of people that do. And we saw that back. People rather vote for someone who uses orange bronzer than they could ever imagine voting for a woman who, honestly, whether you like Hillary's record or not, at the time when you look at it, Hillary Clinton would have been a better option. Let's just put that to rest. Let me say, in my opinion.
I got you. And that's a whole other conversation.
I'm like, I couldn't bring myself to vote for Hillary Clinton.
I got you, dear. But that's a whole other conversation.
It's the
go ahead, Lise. I want to make sure you get your final point. Go ahead.
No, but I honestly just kind of taken to that. But it was the behavior. The same things that she would do, men looked at it as, oh, she's cold. She's not, she's too aggressive. Well, it's an assertive in a man. So people can't look at those traits and translate them over to women because, again, like Nira said, it's the society that we live in. And even when you look at England, the reason why I think that she's been able to do that so long is she's more symbolic than anything. Now you have a man that actually is running it. But we do have people like Angela Merkel who have been running for a while.
And I think, and here's the thing that I think out of all of this, I think each one of you ladies would agree with me. There's so much been of the responsibility, onus of changing this dynamic has often been put on the shoulders of women. And it's not fair. You can't expect women to become better women. I mean, y'all, you know what I mean? It's crazy. So now I think that the real issue is, one, men, I think we need to change. And then two, the system needs to change. There is so much, there has to be a debias that has to happen in the system.
Yeah, I say that's the way of thinking. The way of thinking.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, we as men have to say, wait a minute, hold up. Let's be honest. This woman could be better in this position than I am. Men have to say that. Like we can fall back. I mean, we can go on back and forth on this kind of questioning or this debate for so many years. But at the end of the day, at some point, men have to say, look, I can't do the job, because men can't be a mother. Men can't do certain roles that women can do, right? I mean, I don't care what nobody say. You just can't do it. And it's okay for a man to say, I can't do that. That's not, I don't have the capacity for that.
But let me throw something out there for y'all real quick. Because guess what? My worst experiences in the workplace have been because of other Black women.
Yeah. I can believe it.
For me, I'm not saying this is my story. Right. I have had. I'm gonna tell you, I've had issues with Black girls since the sixth grade.
I gotta agree.
Right.
I mean, I can't deny that. I mean, I've been literally bullied since the sixth grade by other Black girls for being me. And when I'm in the workplace, I've had way more contentious issues with Black women. Don't know how to talk to you, are disrespectful.
Yeah.
And you're just like, why? You don't have to talk to me like that. As a Black woman to a Black woman, you do not have to treat me that way, queen. I'm not trying to take your job. And it's like they're threatened. I hate that Black women feel threatened. And I don't know.
You know what? And you know what?
How I present myself. I don't know what it is, but that's my story. I personally haven't really had any bad experiences from white men or white women in the workplace personally. And that's just my personal experiences.
Yeah. And I think that again, that's something that has to be handled internally. I think women need to deal with women issues, men need to deal with men issues, right? But when it comes to those shared spaces like workplace, when it comes to those shared roles like leadership and politics and all of those things, that, you know what? Stop asking women to be different, to be better, to step up. And let's look at the men in those situations. And most importantly, let's look at the system. All right, folks, I got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's switch gears. After all of the criticism and the controversy around Dave Chappelle's comedy special Closer, guess what? Netflix said they want to hire him again for 4 more specials. We'll talk about the details of that. And I got your Black History quiz, so stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, let's talk about Dave Chappelle. Well, after a very controversial and highly criticized, highly acclaimed special, The Closer, the comic is back at Netflix. Even though people have said they should have canceled Dave Chappelle, Netflix decided not only will we not cancel him, we will keep endorsing all that he has to offer. Dave Chappelle, it was announced just last Friday, the release of 4 upcoming comedy specials where Dave Chappelle will sign on to be the executive producer and host of these comedy specials. It's going to be dubbed Chappelle's Home Team. The first to be featured is Earthquake. Y'all know who Earthquake is. Earthquake, the comedian. His special will be called Earthquake Legendary, which premieres on February the 28th. Another special will spotlight Donnell Rawlings, who was a part of the Chappelle Show. His the date has still yet to be determined, but one similarity shared by all of these comics is that they've been in the game for at least 30 years. Now, Dave has come out to say, quote, "I've been doing this a long time, and comedians like Quake and Donnell are not only friends, but have inspired my own comedy. Anyone in the comedy community knows these names and knows their time to shine is long overdue. I am proud to be a part of this moment." Now, the Netflix CEO, Ted Sarandos, he defended the Closer special amid all of the criticism, but then he later admitted that he screwed up. However, he still went back to supporting the program as, quote, being consistent with our comedy offerings. It's consistent with Dave Chappelle's comedy brand, and this is one of those times when there's something on Netflix that you're not going to like. The comics Dave Chappelle will continue to work with Netflix in that capacity, and he will also serve as the host for Netflix's Los Angeles-based comedy festival, Netflix is a Joke, which gets underway on April the 28th. Ladies, I want to bring back my culture crew. You can't cancel Dave Chappelle when he bringing in money for Netflix.
True.
Man,
people know that he had some, some people say, oh man, he's transphobic and all of that. But at the end of the day, hey, as Ted Sarandos said, this is just one of those times where you're just not going to like Netflix.
I think people who were against the whole cancel culture, trying to cancel Dave Chappelle, of course, social media, Black Twitter and whatnot. There were a group that was saying, "Hey, we understand, y'all feel how y'all feel, but we're not canceling Dave Chappelle." And I think, which y'all spoke to me about last week, the optics, because you have people who said, "No, we stop right here with this whole being sensitive about the LGBTQ community. We're not standing behind it. We behind Dave Chappelle." I think that pushed their narrative as well to convince them, all right, let's go ahead and try to kind of support the brother.
Now look, and we all know that Dave Chappelle, like his comedy is he's. Let me just say this: Dave Chappelle's comedy has matured so much. Because I've watched Dave Chappelle. I even saw him live one time, but his comedy has matured so much. It's like you got to be of a certain mindset to go to see Dave Chappelle. I went to see we saw Marlon Wayans' comedy special. Fell asleep. I think it was on Netflix.
It just wasn't funny. No,
it just wasn't funny. Like it wasn't. It didn't even get to the core of me, like to be funny.
No, it wasn't funny.
It just wasn't funny. But I think it's interesting, Nira, that as much as people want to say, that comedy or comedians have what they call a comedic license to speak on things, that when comedians do say some things that people don't like, people want to revoke their license.
Yeah, for me, there's only one topic that's off limits, and you know what that is, rape. That's the only thing that to me is not funny. Nobody got mad at Dave Chappelle when he was Clayton Bigsby and he made fun of the Ku Klux Klan and Black people and racism, or when he used the N-word. So you know what? This is Dave Chappelle. I support him personally. I thought the closer was funny, but I do think that he'll be a little bit more sensitive moving forward. I'm hoping that he'll be a little bit more sensitive to that community moving forward. I personally didn't get the vibes that he was being transphobic, and I do think that him coming out and trying his best to clear the air and saying like I'm not transphobic, I personally just kind of hope that we get to a place within our culture that people can like authentically say like, hey, I'm not transphobic, and we actually believe them, versus people coming out saying like I'm not transphobic, and then people are like, no, you are, and he's like, but I'm not. I'm just a comedian. I just wanted to make people laugh. It wasn't to be offensive. I don't think that Chappelle was ever trying to be offensive. I think that he is a creator and he uses his creative license to make people laugh, and he uses social issues, because like as you said, you have to grow as you get older. Your content is going to change, so he does talk about more social issues than just for the sake of trying to make people laugh.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Leash, what's your take on this?
So my take is, honestly, I think Killing Me Softly was his best special yet. I don't think, if I'm being honest, and I am a comedy girl, I watch stand-up through and through. I do not think his last 3 specials were that funny. I honestly think he was trying to shock people. And the reason why he was doing that is because people listen. If you are going to say something that's going to get people intrigued, they're more likely to listen to what you have to say. And I feel like that's what Dave Chappelle was doing here. But I do think that money is the root. This is the Joe Rogan effect. If you can get 20 million listeners every week, you can say whatever you want. This is the same thing with Dave Chappelle and Netflix. We're not going to pretend like he didn't talk about rape. He has. We're not going to pretend like he doesn't talk about women. He has. And Dave is in my top 10 of best comics of all time. But I'm not going to pretend like, yeah, this has offended somebody, and people would have the right to be offended. Now, what you should do is, if you're offended, I need everybody come.
You're real close. You're real close. You're real close.
If something offends you, turn it off. Like, close the laptop. Don't watch it, because that has more impact than anything. If you don't watch his special, they will not keep bringing him back. But if you keep watching it and then posting about it, they don't care if the engagement is mad. They care that he has engagement. They're gonna keep paying him. So that's what you have to do. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna step.
All I'm saying is that I think it's just interesting that, comedians, they go across the line all the time. I'm sure if there was a quote unquote cancel culture when Richard Pryor was around, we probably wouldn't have heard of Richard Pryor.
Ooh, yeah, no.
Oh my gosh.
If there was a cancel culture when Eddie Murphy,
back to Eddie Murphy Raw,
when Eddie Murphy Raw was out, when the whole, Eddie, him making fun of African women. I mean, seriously, like,
what do we do? Like, Farajii, like, so we're just gonna take, like, because everyone is so sensitive now, we don't even have comedy anymore. Like I don't know. I just feel like everything is becoming too like we have to place things where they are. Some things are meant to make us laugh. Some things are meant to enlighten us. Some things are meant to educate us. It's like in those moments, can we laugh? But I agree with Lise. Oh my God, wholeheartedly. Why are y'all telling us to cancel this man? If you don't like him, don't watch it. The same way if I don't like a genre of a movie, I'm not going to watch it. If I don't like a certain singer, I'm not going to listen to their music. It's that simple. Just remove your support. Like what is with and just because Elise did bring up something about Dave Chappelle making fun of rape, I just want to throw this out there. I have not seen all of Dave Chappelle's work. So I have not personally seen him make fun of rape. So if I did, that would have definitely been a huge issue for me because again, that's my huge issue with Just Hilarious. And you already know we got into it on social media. She called me a bitch on social media.
You are lying.
Because I called her out for making fun of rape. And it was a big issue for me. She literally, her description of rape was exactly what happened to me. And when many of us survivors called her out on it, she made another video making fun of rape victims. And I wrote an article about it. And she called me a B for it. Because I don't take that. That's not, I'm a survivor and I'm multiple. I've been raped more than one time. I don't take that shit as a joke. There's no instances for me where making fun of rape is funny. Period.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think, and I would agree with you there, that there are certain topics and contents that should be off limits. And I think that we do look, comedians are not stupid people. They're not just, goof offs. These are people who think, who understand the culture, who understand, the boundaries, who understand, the climate that we're in. They're not stupid people at all. They're actually some of the smartest people that you probably will ever come across. But the fact is that there is a way to make people laugh without making people feel less than about themselves. And I think that's just the fine line that comedians have to walk in 2022. But we will see how Dave Chappelle handles this whole situation as he brings his friends up for Chappelle's home team for Netflix. And you know what? There's no report on how much money he's going to make for these 4 comedy specials. But just know he'll be laughing all the way to the bank.
Can I say this, though? But I will say that Dave Chappelle does a really good job of bringing up comedians. So he is bringing people with him. A lot of comics don't do that. If you know anything about the comic circuit, they don't want you to be funnier than them. So the headliner will pull people off. I know this has happened to comedians. They will pull them off if you are funnier than them. Dave is not like that. And he's bringing up other Black comedians that came before him but didn't get the recognition. So I definitely give him his props there. And I think people should at least give Earthquake is hilarious. Please, at least if you're going to support, not just with Dave Chappelle, but look at, he's supporting another Black man, somebody else's family. Give him a chance and watch this special because it's not just about Dave Chappelle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Folks, we're going to take our final pause. When we come back, our Black History quiz. The Culture Crew don't even know what I got for them. I got something very, very special for them. So stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, it is the final few days of Black History Month, and I just thought that I might just have a little fun with my wonderful ladies of the culture crew to share, to kind of get a sense of whether they truly understand Black culture. Hey, Keenan, let's bring up the culture crew. I want to make sure that I see their lovely, beautiful faces for this one. All right, so look, here's how the game goes, ladies. I'm going to show you a picture and ask you a question. And if you really are in tune and are for the culture, you will know the answer to it. All right, Keenan, let's throw the first picture up. Let's show our culture crew. All right, so you see this picture? You see this picture?
You gotta be in the house.
Let me get the question out, ladies. Hold on. What time is it without saying the actual time?
Time to get in the house.
That's it.
Right, let's go next picture. Okay, there we go.
Oh my God! Don't be running out of the house.
Now wait a minute. Hold on. Here's a Black History quiz. What is being let out?
What is my air conditioning?
And you better not let a fly in here. And you better.
Wait, the funny part, hey, Keena, go back to that picture real quick, bro. Wait a minute. That looked like a screen door.
That's why I just added on it. And you better not let no flies in here, because that's what Grandma about to say. You better not let no flies in.
And let no flies. The air is still coming out through the screen door. Let me tell you a very funny story about this very quickly. My father, who was, my man, my father, I love my dad, but he used to tell us some of the silliest stuff. They're like, we used to complain about the air conditioning, and he would be like, son, just open the window up. And it's like 95, 99 degrees outside, and he has screens in the window. And I always ask myself, why does he think opening the window to hot air is going to cool because of the damn screen? That screen don't turn hot air particles into cold air particles.
That's Farajii. That's why your brother don't use air in his car in the summertime. He'd be like, I just roll the windows down. And I'm like, but during the wintertime, you use heat. So what's the difference? I don't understand. Where's the logic?
Don't throw shade on my brother right there. Don't throw shade on that man. All right, next picture, Keenan. All right, what day is it?
Easter, the night before. It's the night before Easter. Yeah, you in that kitchen, getting the back of your neck tore up. Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm over here touching my edges right now.
That's my great grandmother right there. That's Maureen right there. Right there.
Like, look, Mom, I was curly.
Skin grafts and everything. They was burning our scalp.
Wait a minute, hold on.
It was getting fried off.
Go back in.
The ear. Remember the ear? You gotta hold your ear.
Hold your ear. Hold your ear.
Wait a minute, hold it, Keena. Go back to the picture, bro. Bro, look how archaic that joint is, man. You got two, boy. You look like you back in the 1950s. Two hot combs and some
everybody had that hair grease though. Like I've had that hair grease, like no lie.
It started with a glass jar and had a gold top, then it graduated to the plastic.
All right, Keena, what's the next picture? All right, here we go. All right, so if he's sitting at the table, what is he saying? What is he asking?
Like that is a spades game right there. How many books you got? How many books?
Yeah, spades.
I only got 3 in the possible. I got 3 in the possible.
Wait a minute, look at it. Hey, Keena, you gotta throw this picture back up, bro. Oh, look at my man's face. They got the cigarette hanging.
The eyebrows for me. It's the eyebrows.
What?
Yo, he got Cedric the Entertainer for me.
They didn't care about smoking cigarettes around us. Like they really didn't care. Like they used to really go send us to the store to get their cigarettes. Like what?
Right. Then nobody worried about that Surgeon General warning on the side. We just smoking them joints right in front of your damn face.
I used to smoke the candy ones.
Yeah, that was about to say that they even had candy for us.
Yeah, we all did. All right, let's do one more. We got 2 more pictures, I think, Keenan. Let's try the next one. All right. Oh, what day is it?
Sunday.
Huh?
It's Sunday, but I don't like that.
Sunday?
Yes, fish fry.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Hold on. Y'all about to...
Wait a minute.
After church? Who eating that after church?
Wait a minute. Time out. That's not no Sunday. That's Friday. Spaghetti and fish is a Friday meal.
Now, see, we ain't have spaghetti with we have spaghetti as a side. Nobody's side.
Spaghetti was always a meal in my house. Yeah, that was the main dish in my house.
We all getting our card revoked. I didn't eat spaghetti as a side either. We ain't had that kind of money, so that was like, this a meal. Like we don't.
Wait a minute, time out. You didn't have that kind of money for what? Fish and spaghetti?
No, that's separate. That's 2 meals. That is
2 meals. That's 2 meals.
You make some mashed potatoes with greens with fish.
Personally, I gotta say, Iman, I want some collard greens with my fish. I don't know what you're doing.
With some cornbread. Yes, ma'am.
Wait a minute, time out. The fish was on a...
Put a little macaroni on the side, maybe a little yam.
They had mac. They had some mac.
Y'all wow.
Yeah, I do see the mac.
Y'all must grew up in the county.
Either. But I'm gonna just say this for on Fridays. My mother didn't cook on Fridays.
All right, let's go. Speaking of cooking, let's go for the next one, Keenan. Oh
God.
Wait a minute, hold on. What could be done in this room?
Not a damn
nothing.
thing.
You can look at it. It's display. That's it.
Part is you couldn't even sit on the plastic.
No. Right. No, not ever. But
hold up, but when you did, your cheeks be all stuck to it. You be getting up all sweaty.
Did anybody ever ask the question why grandma never took the furniture out the plastic?
Nobody
asked that. Nobody thought that the furniture. Wait a minute, hold on, y'all. Y'all know this. We grown people here. Y'all. Nobody ever asked why does grandma has the furniture in the plastic like
we already knew the answer to that question, Farajii. She wants to spill nothing on the couch. She told us that.
That's crazy.
I never got an explanation and I never asked.
I did.
Just, my
great grandmother was loud with a cigarette. Because I don't want y'all spill nothing on my motherfucking couch. That's what my great grandmother said.
Wow. There you go. All right, let's go for the next pick. We got the next one, Keenan. Is that all?
I think that was the last one.
Was that the last one? All right, you know what? I forgot there was a big one. Oh, that's all. All right. So that's the last one.
I feel like we passed though. We should ask Farajii a question. I think we should all have a question for Farajii.
Let's think. Okay.
That's the last one. I thought I sent him all of the ones because
I got a question for you, Farajii.
We got 2 minutes. Go ahead.
All right. What is the real name of Toby?
From Roots?
That's answer the question, Farajii.
I mean, if it's Kuta Kente.
All right, that's it. I gave you an easy one.
Oh man, everybody should know that.
It's a black one though.
That's the easy one right there.
I was being nice to you.
Oh my goodness, that's easy right there. I mean, everybody should know that. I mean, look. I would be. Look, I think a lot of people.
You could have said Spider-Man. You could have said Spider-Man. I don't know.
Oh no, that's not.
You know what?
Hey, all right. Hey, Keenan, I sent you the last one. I want to make sure now because I know this one is the one. I just emailed you the last one. I want you to post this one when you get it. We got like 30 seconds because this is the one I think that everybody asks at every family gathering. Keenan, if we could go ahead and check your email on this one. And I want you to see this one, y'all. This is our Black History quiz. Boom! If this is on the table, what's the question you asking?
Who made it?
There it is.
That and the macaroni and cheese. Hey,
wait a minute. Wait a minute, Keenan, put that back up, bro.
It's yellow too. It's yellow, which is we starting off good because it's yellow.
Is that the garnish? It's definitely seasoning salt, but if you're from Baltimore, that's Old Bay.
That's Old Bay.
That's Old Bay. Only if you're from Baltimore. That's Maryland. That's Maryland. If you if not in Maryland, that's seasoning salt.
It looks like potato salad more so than macaroni and cheese.
I hope that's potato salad. I hope that's not macaroni and cheese.
No,
send
that's
that back to Kern. Send that back to Kern. We're not eating that potato.
No, that's potato.
Oh, well, you know what? Hey, look. I ask people. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I ask anytime there's a look. I don't go to no potlucks. I don't do potlucks. We don't do potlucks over here. We don't do that. You know what I'm saying? And just because everybody got different dietary needs, right? But I always ask the question: who made this? Who?
Oh, what's the other black question? Who all over there? Boom.
Who all?
Who all over there?
Ladies, I appreciate each and every one of you of my dynamic culture crew. Lise Winnie, host of Millennials Anonymous podcast. We got Iman Heath, who is an activist and entrepreneur, and Nira Muhammad, who is a writer, educator, and host of Queen Talks with Nira. Thank you all so much for joining us today here on The Culture and being so good for the culture. Thank you, ladies. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Man, I really appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation tonight. I want to thank my dynamic team for producing tonight. But more importantly, I want to thank you for tuning in. Make sure you show your support for Black Star Network. We need all the type of love and support that we can get. Go to blackstarnetwork.com. Support the network. You can do it so by Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, all of that. You can definitely do it. And we need your support. We need folks to continue to support us, to follow us, to make Black Star Network the premier Black-owned media space and source on the internet. And of course, make sure you download Black Star Network on your phones and on your TV, all for free, folks, and become a huge, huge fan of Black-owned media. Stay tuned. In a little bit at the 6 o'clock hour, you can expect my big brother, Roland Martin, Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk again for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.